Well, for the people who has traveled outside of the country before or who owns a pet, there is one similarity between those two, which is RFID chips. And these RFID chips are inside passports. They're inside, they're used to track your pet if they ever get lost. So my main proposition is implanting human radio frequency identification microchips causes significant social problems. Now, my supporting claims are going to be RFID chips may pose a threat to our health. RFID chips can take away our freedom and privacy, and concerns with sustainability of the RFID chips itself. To give you a little background, microchips implants are typically the size of a grain of rice inserted under the skin between the thumb and the forefinger, right here. They can allow people to enter buildings or use vending machines with just a swipe of their hand. Now, for my first supporting claim about the health, RFID may pose a threat to our health. Now, risk of infections. The implants aren't being done in a doctor's office. Instead, tattoos and piercing shops in several parts of the country are performing the procedure. Ryan Mills of Skin Art Gallery Tattoos said, "We're doing the procedure start to finish, just like we would do an earring or a nose ring or a belly button ring. It is just a tiny piece of glass." According to the article from CBS News, from Chris Stein. Another point is cloning of the RFID chips. Mr. West Hughes, who successfully transferred information from an RFID chip used a handheld device using batteries to clone information stored on another chip's transponder. This device needs to be put close to a person with an implanted chip. The cloning process lasts about a couple of seconds. Daniel Dimov from InfoSec Institute continues. Also, DIY tagging is very dangerous. Amal Fostra from IEEE Press mentions that as the DIY community grows and more people get non-FDA approved glass tags implanted in non-FDA approved locations, so too the concerns over the safety of RFID implants will grow. Problems with DIY tagging are such as sterilizations. If before you insert the chip in your hand, if it's not properly sterilized, it's going to be a problem. The location, if you put it somewhere else, it might move somewhere, and which is the next point with migration. It might move somewhere where it's not supposed to be, and also structural compromise, as such as is the glass FDA approved? What if it just shatters inside your skin? That wouldn't be too good. And removal and replacement and cancer risk. So these are the reasons why it poses a threat to our health. Now, my second supporting claim is RFID chips can take away our freedom and privacy. Invasion of privacy. According to Kasner from Tech Republic, RFID can track information about our health, identity, our nationality, our psychological characteristics of the person concerned. So I just want you to think about that for a second. And the second claim is discrimination between employees who have implanted a microchip and who has not. Bear with me for a second. 4 states alarmed by the future prospect of mandatory use of technology. Wisconsin, North Dakota, California, and Oklahoma passed laws prohibiting companies and government entities from forcing a person to have RFID chips implanted under the skin. Many states have enacted laws protecting user location data privacy rights. Although the federal statutes currently exist, several bills have been proposed to address the issue, including the Location Privacy Act, Online Communications, Geolocation Privacy Act, Surveillance Act, which has a provision regarding vehicle GPS data, from Jeffrey Voice from IEE. And my last supporting claim is concerns with the sustainability of the RFID chips, possibility of getting hacked. Dr. Gasson, a senior researcher at University of Reading, inserted a RFID chip under the skin between his thumb and his first finger. Then he intentionally infected the implanted chip with a computer virus. Then he used the transponder to gain access to a secure building. The virus was transferred and corrupted the computer system of the secure building. Then another device trying to access the computer system of the secure building was potentially at risk of being infected with the virus, and the doors wouldn't open. It should be noted that the transponders could be easily infected with computer viruses by detectors containing such viruses. That's according to Daniel Dima from InfoSec Institute. And lastly, new features and updates. There's no doubt that this technology will improve over time, adding more and more features. It's possible these features will require new hardware, and that early hardware may not have an easy way to be physically replaced. So that is also a problem. It's a concern with the sustainability of the chip itself, and it also goes back to the point where I talked about it's a threat to our health. Now, as a society, we tend to chase for the newest technology. However, we should be cautious of merging technology with human bodies. Implanting human RFID microchips causes significant social problems. It poses a threat to our health, takes away our freedom of privacy, and isn't yet sustainable enough to inject inside human bodies. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to start kind of at the end. I think that your summary is pretty effective at reminding us of the whole point of the speech, although you get kind of onto some of these other paths in there when you're talking about the viruses and you're talking about hacking, and then you're talking about laws that prohibit and regulate these sorts of issues. All of those things come down. It comes down to the points that you're making that you summarized, I thought, pretty effectively, and I think that that's a good example about how to kind of remind people the point that you were trying to make during the presentation. You did an okay job at the beginning also, signposting what the main points are going to be and previewing them. There was a clear statement of what the claim is. As you get to those individual points, we do kind of have to get informed about some of the things that are going on here. The one thing that I do see missing from the argument is some demonstration that this is something that's a trend, it's coming, that we expect it to become a big deal, that companies are going to start expecting their employees to be equipped this way, or that there's something that's going to go along with this. One of the things that I thought was kind of curious that there wasn't any comparative data, since animals have been chipped this way for a long period of time. What kinds of problems do we have from that sort of experience? Has it worked? Has it failed to work? Is it producing the kinds of problems that you're talking about? Obviously, animals are different than human beings in some ways. They probably aren't as concerned about their privacy. They probably, aren't trying to get into some secure location, by rubbing their back up against the door and gaining entry that way. But there are some things that, like when you talk about potential health issues and who's inserting these kinds of things, we had a record of problems, that kind of thing. And the hacking thing, I would think, if somebody wants to steal a dog or something along those lines, that would be one of those things that people might want to do. I don't know anything about it. It just seemed like that was an obvious example of something that you could make a comparison to that doesn't get explained at all. Otherwise, it seems kind of speculative. In other words, that this is a potential future problem. We've got some illustrations that suggest what potential issues there might be. The reason to there's a reason to hesitate, but it sounds like we've already got a whole bunch of people pointing out that there are reasons to hesitate. We got 4 states that have actually passed laws. We got a whole bunch of proposed laws at the federal level. So I'm not exactly sure that there's a lack of awareness of these potential problems, and so maybe there's a little bit less controversy and need than you think. All right, thank you.